Welcome back to Wolf of Queen Street podcast. On today's episode, a guest and a specialty that I thought, and I had a laugh with my producer Guy before, that I would never use on my show. But a lifestyle influencer, Sabby Jey, Boujee on a budget. I think I said that word wrong. I had to practice it earlier with my wife, and she looked at me weird. Boujee, there we go. I knew I said it wrong. But I always said on my show, I would never have someone that had that was known as an influencer or so forth, because such of the bad taste has left my mouth over the last few years. But Sabby, yourself, what you're doing of trying to show people how to live a lifestyle, make a difference in their life, just small changes, going around, buying things and selling things, but also literally living a great life in time that we live in New Zealand of cost of living crisis. I actually wanted to have you on the show, and I'm happy to use that word and within explaining, because the only person I see there's a positive side of it, not the negative side, as most people would call themselves influencers out there. But Sabby, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I would like to say, yes, I do. I guess some people would see me as like an influencer or reality star, but I guess well before that, I've been a business owner for 5 years. I prefer the word content creator because I feel like I'm more interested in making educational content that inspires women or, minority groups to live a good life. But I guess the word influencer comes along with it if you do certain things like go to events and work with brands and stuff. So I guess there's that part too.
Yeah. And it is true, right? So you spoke about being content creation and everything out there, but take us through to anyone that's listening and watching at the moment, a bit of your backstory. You've been a business owner, you've done a whole lot of things before getting to the point we are now in your lives. And as much as, funny enough, is I always go in and I do a bit of a stalk and I do a bit of a research about my guests and try to do as much. And a lot of what you've done in the last couple of years, but before that, there's not as much, I would say, literature out there about yourself. So I'd love to know the bit of the backstory.
Yeah, sure. So I did a degree in finance and I graduated in 2016. During that time, I started pursuing acting and modeling, went to India, acted a bit, tried here for a while. Originally, I was working in marketing while I was at uni and I really enjoyed it and I loved the field. There was actually a lot of cool opportunities, especially in the social media space compared to traditional marketing roles. That was really fascinating. So when I finished my degree, I chose, instead of working in finance, to go into marketing. And while I was doing that, my boss gave me quite flexible hours so I could pursue acting and eventually encouraged me to, start my own business. I wanted to start my own consulting, social media strategy and branding consulting agency as well. And so I started that with the hopes of, having some sort of stable income, but flexible income so I could pursue acting. Eventually that kind of took over. Then I started, maybe 2014 onwards, I started sharing, colorism and racism and body positivity on social media. Back then it was just photos. And I think only really in 2019, 2020 onwards, I started really, during BLM and onwards, I started really talking about those things more seriously, making video content, jumped on TikTok, and it kind of really took off. And before I knew it, I think brands started asking me to work with them, and I decided, look, I've tried acting for a long time. I haven't seen much success. It's quite depressing to constantly be rejected, never hear back from auditions, not made any money. And my first brand deal from, as a content creator was bigger than anything I'd earned in acting in a couple of years. So I thought I will let that go for a little bit and I'm going to pursue, marketing and content full time. So that's how we're here now.
And with your content as well that you're going out there, it's more to it than just producing content. So a lot of your pillars that I would see within the brand that anyone looking at is you've got obviously, the side of producing quality content, but it's not just that. Within New Zealand, you're also talking about you've got the side of buying and selling things as well, right? And from furniture and upskilling and flipping, those sort of things, but also finding yourself good deals and finding yourself how to generate additional revenue on a week-to-week basis, as well as building your own image and your brand. So it's like all these whole lot of pillars as you're building up, but it fundamentally can show people out in the community, how to take that and slowly make a difference in your own life, even if it's, I don't have a story to tell. I can do something different that Sabby's picked up that I can take those skills forward. Hey everyone, sorry for the interruption. Just a quick shout out from our sponsors.
My name is Kenyon Clark and I'm the founder of the Duval Group. We are a large-scale property developer, and alongside our property development business, we also have our gym business based in Monaco and with new locations opening soon. We're passionate about serving our community, and we do that through the Duval Foundation, and I hope that we are able to be a voice of encouragement and inspiration for a whole new generation of entrepreneurs.
Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I would say like my main pillars are sort of like talking about inclusivity. Then another one was lifestyle.
Yep.
And lifestyle spans from, what I'm wearing, what I'm got on my face, what's in my house. And I think a third one that came up was like kind of not intentionally to be inspiring or motivating, but sharing my journey. And my journey, spans from, starting a business, secondhand selling, being financially savvy, what are the things that I do to make my life nicer, but it's affordable, and people, sometimes aren't aware of all the deals that are out there. What are all these little hacks that they can do to have really nice things without having to fork out a lot of money? So it's my aim there is to show mainly middle-class women or women going from students into working life of all classes what they could do to have something nice without breaking the bank and feeling guilty. And I think everyone should be indulging in self-care. So.
Yeah, that is so true. Let's go down into that place at the moment. Talk me through, talking about nicer but more affordable. So a lot of people are listening going, okay, how am I doing that? How am I getting nicer things but more affordable? My nicer cell phone is not more affordable. It's more expensive. My nicer clothes, right? Like I don't worry about branded clothes. I'm wearing most of the shit I've had for like 3 years. Anyone wants to give me clothing? Knock yourself out. But hey, talk me through how does that work, that nicer but more affordable for anyone that's listening?
Well, we'll start where I started from, which was furnishing my house during COVID.
Yep.
And when you were stuck in the house all of a sudden, I was like, oh, my Kmart furniture kind of looks ugly. My furniture doesn't look so great. What can I do? So I just started when it was all right to start picking up during whatever level we were in. I started really, it requires patience, So I put a list down, and a big thing that I've talked on in other podcasts and whatnot is I keep like an Excel sheet of what do I want for myself? Like what would I want for my house? So let's just say like a desk and a chair and a new bed. And then I would wait, and I would look on Facebook Marketplace, Trade Me. I don't actually really believe in buying full price items. I don't also think that sale items are necessarily any better, but I do think that you can get really amazing things secondhand. So I would wait and look, and sometimes I would get really lucky, and I got my desk that's worth like $500 or $40, or I got couches worth thousands of dollars for $300-400, and then I paid for upholstery cleaning just in case. It came from a great area, great home, but you never know what's someone's jacked off on there or whatever. So I would go and I'd 100% recommend getting upholstery cleaning. So
keep going.
So I would say, if we look at home, that was one way that you just have to be patient. There's a lot of dollar auctions on Trade Me. You can find a great, van person on Facebook for $70. And overall, if you can be patient with your buying instead of thinking, okay, I've just moved into this new house, I need a couch ASAP. Waiting 1 or 2 weeks, you can get something great. In terms of beauty, there's always hacks of finding dupes for women. So I always recommend, look at the ingredients in something, see if you can find it cheaper.
Yeah.
And not everything luxury is good. Like just because a cream, like say Estee Lauder or Lancome and all those creams, have this huge pricing point, doesn't mean you can't find something in the middle ground, even at the chemist, that could match that. And also choosing which things do need to be expensive, what things could be cheap, like your body moisturizer or your toner, what parts don't need to be expensive. Then, looking for deals for your hair and beauty. There's so many grab one deals. There's always promotions going on throughout the year. And when the salons and stuff do those promotions, that's when you should take it, when they have 20% off, or they say, come in and you'll get this extra, treatment if you, like an add-on treatment if you get your hair done. So being aware and mindful of all of those. And then when it comes to fashion, there's so many great secondhand stores, there's in-person secondhand stores, then there is all these places online like Trade Me, Designer Wardrobe, and you can find so many great things on there. And then my recommendation is not to buy a lot of clothing. Understand and learn fashion, learn beauty, understand what you actually need. So when it comes to fashion, if you actually learn your silhouette and what you should be wearing for your body type. There's, I've read to be honest, I bought 10 books to read. I ended up, after the fourth one, I understood style.
Yeah.
And I came up with my own unique style. And I now I went from having 50 to 100 pieces of clothing to now having a small capsule wardrobe of, to be honest, I think maybe 30 pieces, 30 to 40 pieces for going out. Lots of pajamas. There's no limit on pajamas, but that's all I really need to make infinite amount of outfits. And then when I was looking for those pieces, I, took my time to find them. And I think what a lot of people may not realize or don't think about is, you're looking at these sales, you're buying all these things you don't need, you're going in without a purpose of what you're buying, then you always feel like you don't have enough because you actually don't know what you need. You're just buying random things.
Can't tick it off, right?
Yeah, which is why I used to have 100 pieces of clothing and feel like I had nothing in my wardrobe. Now I feel I have 50.
But isn't that like most people's struggles, right? No matter how many pieces of clothing we have in there?
No, I think it's also got to do with the mindset. So if you have a mindset of understanding fashion, how to make outfits, how to look good in the clothes you have, you'll never feel like you don't have enough. And I also think that also comes down to maybe an aspect of capitalism and consumerism where you always want new things and new shiny things and you get some sort of kick out of buying new things. So having a huge, my thing is doing nicer things, but doing it less often and also having nicer things, but you have to really cut back on what you have. And how I made that all happen is so anything I've bought in the last 3-4 years all comes from just selling my own belongings, which makes you realize how much shit anyone has, how many, let's just say how many extra plates you have or all these extra clothing, makeup that, if you don't sell within a year, you have to chuck out. So you have all this extra makeup. So I started listing all these things and I was making, on average an extra 10,000 a year from just selling on Facebook, Trade Me. And I started
from your current positions or buying and selling?
Positions, only my current positions. And I don't have that much stuff, like for someone who's just started their career and, started to buy things, I don't have that much stuff. So you can only imagine someone who's had a house for 20 years, how much they would have accumulated, gifts, all the stuff that they don't need. So then I told myself, anytime I want to buy something new, unless that's a necessity for my business or it's a necessity in life, like say a washing machine, it's going to come out of my selling fund. So whatever I've sold from my own items. So that really makes you discipline yourself to only buy things you really want and then also let go of items that no longer serve a purpose for you. So even me saying, okay, start your journey of improving your home, fashion and beauty, you could start off with just using what's already in your house.
It's so true. I almost feel in the back of my head, I'm feeling I'm a little bit judged. I'm a collector. So I'm the worst. I'm a sports memorabilia and toy collector. And I've just moved into a new house after everything being in storage for 2 years. And let's just say I can realize that how much I've got and how much shit I've got and how much I need to get rid of. So yes, I'm selling a lot of my collections at the moment. And yes, it's slow, but it does work and it is selling and there is revenue driven from that. But it's so interesting talking about the clothing and fashion thing. And this is something, Guy, I'd never thought I'd talk about on my show. But let's just go down this rabbit hole. I've introduced also my daughter, who turns 15 next week, into Op Shop for clothing, right? Because I go to Op Shops for collectibles, not for clothing items, but she likes her clothing and she's got her own unique style. So I've introduced her to going to Op Shops and looking. So we've gone down into High Street and look at the brand ones so that, compared to then going Op Shopping.
They are slightly overpriced.
They are slightly overpriced.
Especially if you're going to one of those main streets.
You're
paying premium.
So I go and take her through there to see, but I normally wouldn't buy it. But recently we went onto the shore and we went into an Op Shop and she was looking around for a denim jacket and she found something and it was super cool and she totally liked it. And then we pulled out, and you might appreciate this, and again, I never thought I'd talk about this, but I found a pink World Tour touring jacket. Black bomber jacket, pink World Tour, almost mint condition, and it was like $30, almost hardly been worn. I was like, I'm taking you home. Yeah. My daughter didn't want it. Wife loves it, but I'm like, that's like a $100, $150 jacket every day of the week. So even if I took it home, not for someone to wear at home, straight away could have picked it up. And if I was patient enough, someone would be willing to pay $60 or $80 or $100 for that over 2 or 3 months of me just putting it online. It cost me nothing, right? And that could have driven a bit of revenue from it.
Well, that's what ended up happening for me. So I ended up seeing, when I say I was looking for my couch, I would see like 4 or 5 other ones underpriced. And I thought, what is the real cost here for me to bring it home? It also depends on, your environment, right? So I have a really nice new house. Furniture looks nice in it, really good sun coming in, good quality photos, great furnishings around it. So I noticed a lot of people would take, say, really bad photos and sort of like a bad lighting, old school house, and these gorgeous pieces were just not done justice because people are visual buyers. And so some of them did have a few rips, did have a stain. It would have needed upholstery cleaning and some stitching. So I thought, why don't I just start trying? But how I started trying is quite funny. I've never actually told anyone this, but I was kind of seeing a guy.
Let's just say you're living your life.
We'll skip the story. Well, you know what? I was going to say where I sold my first couch set. It was because it was given to me by a guy, and I sold it, but I made it for way more than I expected to get for it. And then I was like, that inspired me to say at least something good came out of like a bad relationship, or bad whatever situationship. So the good thing was that I think that couch set was bought for like $500. It was a Chesterfield set. It had a rip in it. It had a few buttons missing. Over like a month or two, I'd done it up. I was planning on keeping it. When I sold it for $1,600. So the total cost to me was like I think $600, including delivery, which was covered. But when I sold it, I got $1,500, so this is a $900 profit. And if I'd waited, I was just in a rush. I just did not want it in my house anymore, so I wanted it gone. But if I'd waited, I could have gotten $1,800, $2,000. So the thing is that I realized is there's a lot of people selling things quickly on $1 auctions for $20 on Facebook Marketplace. They're moving. You can find a lot of great bargains. The only thing is that if you're looking for a sustainable side hustle, it does work, but you do need a bit of capital to start. To be honest, I don't think you need more than 1.5 to $2 grand. So even if you used your savings, you're willing to risk your savings or something, or pull out a little bit of your savings and put it towards it. You could buy a couch set, you could buy some coffee tables, whatnot, put it together as a package and sell it. Usually when I get it, it comes a bit dirty, wipe it down. I have polish, I have fabric refresher. I do have the upholstery cleaner, but usually I just get a guy from Facebook Marketplace to come do it, and he's down the street, so affordable. So my costs to, revamp a couch is quite affordable. I know basic sewing techniques, so I do that. And some weeks I made an extra grand. It just depends on how much I've gone and picked up, or that I've gone delivered to my house. So that's just profit, not the original amount that I put in. So it is a really great side hustle. It's almost can match some people's full-time income.
It is true. It's funny. If anyone knows, there was the whole couch. Selling the couches good few years ago, about 3 to 5 years ago. It was driven through Gary Vee talking about it. There's a guy that I used to...
Is that like that eBay selling?
Yeah, right, eBay, yeah. So there's a very famous guy in America. His name's Ryan Pineda. He's massive in the property game now. He started his career, him and his wife started his career by flipping couches. And then they flipped couches and they moved to flipping furniture until they got enough money to be able to get into a property, and then they went on to their property journey. And now he's one of the biggest influencers, don't say that word. One of the biggest motivational and coaches out in the property game. But that's where his journey started from. And I think one of his stories was like, taking on the train, like getting a couch, picking up, put it on the subway. That's home.
Next level. I don't have. I'm too delicate for that. I wouldn't let my nails get broken. So I do have. I would make more profit if I was like, I'm a frail woman. I'm a tiny 5-foot woman. I do have 2 men that I hire. But the great thing is on marketplaces, you can find all these people to help you. So you've got the delivery van guy. You've got someone who can come in, clean your couches. And so what I found is it's not just the couches though. You can do coffee tables. I do hall tables. I find unique pieces like carved wooden side tables and, antique lamps that I think, older generation puts it on for $20. And I'm like, honey, you bought it for 20. This is worth $300 now. People are selling it in stores for, if you go into those antique stores, some of these things they're selling for $600. I'll put it on for half the price. And then, it either attracts a newer generation like millennials, even Gen Z. Sometimes it's even the older generation that are also hitting me up. So I think, there's a huge opportunity here on Marketplace and Trade Me. Not so much Trade Me, but Marketplace. If you are favored by the algorithm by constantly posting as a seller, that you go quite high up. And there's a lot of opportunities to make a lot of extra cash. But I would say you do need like a good eye. So you do need to know what will sell. Yeah, and you do need to know what's trending, what are people into. And like based off that, I choose pieces. But to be honest, I just choose what I like.
Yeah.
So whatever I would want to put in my house, then I think someone else will want to put it in their house.
I've got a bit of a partial little hack that I've been doing of recent that I'll give out there. So again, it's not at the level of the secondhand. It's partially right. So I'm a big fan of Freedom Furniture. They got a couple of nice pieces, but usually they're usually quite overpriced. But what a lot of people don't realize is in every single Freedom Furniture, there's a very dark corner in the end of the shop where they go and put furniture that was been displayed for the last 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months in this dark corner, and they got to flog it and they got to get rid of it. But it'll be sold off. So I got a single-seater reclining pure leather $2,500 seat for $350. Okay,
why do I not know this? This is going to change my life.
Because it was sitting on the floor,
Yeah.
and funny enough, it had a bit of use. Oh, you're right there.
I don't know what happened. I'm just going to sit in the chair like this from now on.
Did you just pop the chair forward?
I don't know what I did. Hold
You
on.
pushed something. Oh, hold on. One of the other ones. We might need to get. Oh, there we go. Is that
I
better?
don't know if I did everything. Hold on.
We might need to get Guy to come in camera just to come. You all good? Sorry about that. We just had a bit of an issue with some technical issue, so we're back into it. But so yes, so going back to it, Freedom Furniture has a dark corner in every shop, right? That they put floor models that's been used, and it's at ridiculously priced prices. So I bought a single leather reclining chair. It was just under $400, and it was close to $2,000. So they had black ones brand new for $2,000, or this one brown leather for under $400.
That's
and
so
it's
good.
been used a little bit, and it'll actually look better because it's been used, and the rest of it. So that's sitting at home in my study right now. I've got multiple other pieces of furniture that I want to say that I've been buying it on the cheap from those corners. And as soon as I told friends, all my friends went to their local Freedoms, and they're like, "No, there's nothing here today." But again, and I'm down there every couple of weeks to the one that I go to, I just pop my head in and go, oh, there's nothing today. Doesn't mean there won't be something next week, but there's deals to be found.
So then I'm going to note that down. I'm going to definitely be checking it out because I think, you also have to think of the resale value as well. So for me, when I'm buying certain brands, I know I can resell it for much higher. So there's a Cheetah, Freedom, Nude, they all sell really well. Sometimes people will sell it with a couple of stains and they just don't realize, you can just get it upholstery clean and it'll cost $100, and you can even get out like black ink from the couch. So people should be cleaning their couches anyway.
Another tip to you: go to Bed Bath & Beyond.
I go to Bed Bath & Table. You mean the Bed Bath & Beyond in Onehunga?
No, there's a few around. There's one out in Westgate. Yes, they are a bathroom store and a bedroom store, but they put single pieces of furniture as displays that. But 90% of them don't have a warehouse, so they don't keep storage. So when they need to change it, the furniture needs to go somewhere. Let's just say, cough, cough, my new lounge suite in my new house was purchased from walking in and asking the manager, did she want to get rid of her furniture?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing. I think people just need to be aware of there's all these amazing hacks to get, high quality items. You just have to know how to hustle a little bit to
and
get
just
it.
ask.
Yeah, and just ask, yeah.
So I was lucky at the time, and she was getting rid of one of the seats. There was the other seats there. She said to me there to put a new display up in 48 hours. She needed the furniture gone in like today, tomorrow. Brand new. One of the couches had one spot on, which you'll know they have no issue, and it was something like 25% of what the retail price was. So I was like, I'll take that. I'll be back. I think I was 2 hours later with my ute. We literally threw it in the back of the ute because I was only 10 minutes from home. Threw a piece in, drove home, threw another piece in, drove home, and I was like, great. Thank you. I'll take that.
That's so good. I think I might add that to my list of
obscure places.
The thing is that I'm not a physical person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm too lazy to like go and physically look. So I look online, but I think for people who are a bit more active and want to have the time to go around, that's actually a really good tip. Like I might save a day and do that. When I can't find anything online, then I've got a backup to go and have a a look.
Yeah, or so I always looking around. Like I've got a local lady and antique shop close to me that does estate purchases and stuff, but she always keeps the toys for me. But then she always also gets quite nice estate small pieces of furniture as well. So there was I'm going to butcher this name. What's it? The Lays? The little couch, French couch looking thing that you lie on. It has the back piece.
A chase?
Here we go. I told you I'm going to butcher.
Yeah, a chaise or a chase.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
And she had a very nice one for like $100 just standing there the other day.
What's the name of this? Can you tell me off? Tell me off camera the name of the store. No, we shouldn't gatekeep. Tell me what's the name.
I know.
Of the
So
store,
she had it. Huapa Antiques, just in Kimu. It's a lady that owns the shop. Her name's Denise, and she doesn't get a lot of pieces of furniture from the shop, but occasionally she'll get one or two nice little. And I looked at it, and it just wouldn't suit the style of my new place. But I was like, that is tempting. Very, very tempting.
Well, if you ever see anything, just hit me up.
Yeah.
I'll come and if you're browsing and you see something great, and you think
10% finder's fee, right?
Yeah, 10% I'll give you 10% of the profit. I'd be happy to fund with that. Yeah.
But there we go. There's another thing, right, to the audience. So you are in the market in that space. I'm not in the market, but I'm seeing the things, right? So I'm sure, like, if I reached out to you, Sabby, and said, hey, look, by the way, how about we have this agreement? If I find you something good, 5% my way.
Yeah.
And, to anyone listening going, hey, you could do the same thing to anyone else. So I don't spend any money. I just say, okay, when I'm out and I find a really great deal and I'll let you know, or it's $20 a deal or whatever, something like that, someone can go and build a revenue off it by finding finder's fee for people that are into the furniture or the clothing or any of those other deals as well.
And I have opened up my channel and said people can send me their stuff. Like if they've got some cool furniture, they got something they want to get rid of, instead of listing it, they can just send it to my page. So I have had a few purchases directly from my audience or my friends and family as well.
Oh, that's amazing. One more thing, Seb, I just want to get on today, and it's something I know you're passionate about. It's something that you've spoken about through your brands and everything. And you mentioned today was the whole exclusivity, everyone together, the whole big thing in New Zealand as well on social media is about going against, against genders and gender and all the rest of it across in the business side, being female, being, all the rest of it. I don't want to mention all the other negative things that are used, but I know it's a big thing for yourself of trying to knock that down and put it on the nail and stop people being assholes across business and social media, right?
Yeah. So for me, what I noticed when I went into all these industries like acting, entrepreneurship, working with brands, going to these sort of red carpet events, that there was a huge there's two things. There was a very high level of classism, and then there was a huge level of lack of diversity, not just lack of inclusivity, lack of diversity. So not just women of color, but also even if we just look at women in general, is there plus size women? Is there older women? Is there women that don't maybe have shorter hair, brunette, don't fit the typical, thin, petite European standard of what a feminine woman should look like? And so what I noticed is, I'd walk into these rooms, to some extent I fit in enough, right? Like I'm educated, I'm slim enough, I guess, so I didn't feel too out of place, but I felt uncomfortable. I didn't feel this was the right environment. Didn't feel right, So my kind of thing with inclusivity is, I started up an initiative. So I offer brands and PR companies free resources, mainly like workshops, understanding, they fill out forms on what they're struggling with around inclusivity. And then I offer, workshops on like how they can improve, what are feedback that I've heard in the industry. And then I also offer like lists. So anytime they have an event, they can reach out and be like, we need X and X, like say like, 3 males that are fit or, a plus size, 2 plus size females or LGBTQ. Do you have any suggestions or non-binary? And then I would give them a list of, people who fit that category because there are no search tools for them to maybe expand or, their perimeter of people they come across might not be those people. Or for the brand managers. So for me, I think, while there's definitely been progress for all of us, there is still a lot of, casual racism. There's a lot of privilege you have to deal with. There's a lot of gatekeeping. There's a lot of glass ceilings, both for, women and all minorities. And so for me, in these industries where there's really high value opportunities, right, they're very desirable opportunities to work with brands, to go on press trips, to get, considered for PR and all that sort of stuff, I would like to see like a diverse range of people that actually reflect the audience for these brands being considered. And, I went to NZ Fashion Week recently, and there were a lot of the shows by, colored designers were, they met those criteria, but there's a lot of mainstream brands, white-owned brands that I felt really missed the mark on both diversity in the models, and then diversity in their front rows, diversity in the guests and VIPs that they're inviting. And it makes you wonder, why is that still happening? So what can you really do about it? Sure, you can say, fuck you, you're racist, or fuck you, you're not doing good enough, you don't give a fuck, whatever. You can say those things, right? But it doesn't really make a difference. All it does is just encourage white fragility. So for me, instead, as an example, I reached out to the brands that I felt didn't, I was like, can you consider this? Can you consider that? For your next show, I'm happy to help out, give some advice, whatever you need. So offering more of like a helping hand and encouraging, and fostering sort of inclusivity is what I kind of aim for. Because, I'm tired of just being angry about it. I want to see if there's something I can do about it, and actually have a voice when it comes to, seeing a more inclusive room, or inclusive ads or whatever it is.
That's true. I'm going to throw out a challenge to you, right? And this is not my opinion or anything, but I'm going to throw out a challenge too. So I'm going through some literature at the moment across a lot of the movements across the states and the universities over the last decade of the cancel culture, and a lot of the side of where that has come from and the underpinned. And there's this whole belief in the sense of that we need to remove negativity by automatically removing it, but not align it to, not like, I'm gonna butcher this and someone's gonna like fucking throw something at their TV or something, whatever, right? But we can't, if a person's an arsehole, right, we still got to allow them to have their way or their says without it negatively impacting ourselves. We can't just automatically go, no, it shouldn't be and shouldn't be allowed. Because therefore, if there is ever a challenge on that, we almost automatically stand up and have this cancel culture. So I don't agree. Like, I don't think people should be treated any differently from where they are, from their color, and all that. I'm not in support of it. But an arsehole is going to be an arsehole, and if he wants to say something and be a prick about it and fuck him for saying that, he's still got to allow himself to be able to do that and say that. There's a bit of this grey area, and where I find it is that we want to go, no, we've got to totally stop it. So therefore, it's a hard line. It's a whole cancel culture. This whole thing that we've literally got to cut these brands off. We've got to distance themselves automatically, right? As we're recording at the moment, the biggest one in the world news right now is Russell Brand. That everyone's hard cutting it off without allowing one side or the other side of it. And I find it really interesting that. And it's come out of the American space where people came out and try to make a difference for the right reasons. But I'm going to try and make a difference. Therefore, the person that I'm going against automatically is making the wrong difference. So therefore, they should be excluded, or we cut off, or not be allowed to be allowed to say something or speak or anything else. And this is where my challenge is to you as a general one is, do you feel we should be cutting, blocking, or allow the space that we both can evolve to a better direction?
Definitely the latter. I don't see cancel culture as, a useful or positive thing in society. What happens when you cancel a brand, they just become more fragile. So instead of taking steps to improve and become better and use their resources, because these big brands have huge budgets to actually think about inclusivity, put in more models of, say, color, or make more campaigns with inclusive language and inclusive creators or whatever it is, they're not given that opportunity because they have to worry about being cancelled.
Yep.
So I think for me, it would be very rare for me to cancel a brand. I think for me it would be maybe 100 conversations before I'm like, actually, you are racist, you're not willing to learn. For a lot of people, I think it's actually just they've never had the opportunity to. They don't know how to. They have no intention of excluding people. For some, at least, and they just need the opportunity to understand and learn. They need the opportunity for people to be strong enough to give the feedback. So, as a content creator, you could be scared, or, someone in this industry, a lot of women will come and tell me how they feel, but they will never say anything to the brand or never say anything to the PR company because they'd be too worried that they would be cut out themselves because of white fragility, right? So I've had big brands, I've DM'd them and then they've unfollowed me. I don't really care. That's not the followers I want anyway. But, that is an example of if you do give feedback, you might also be excluded yourself. So for me, I don't want to be excluded when I'm giving my feedback. So the same thing, I don't want them to feel excluded when we're giving our concerns. So I don't think, the whole, cancel culture and like this rage or whatever of like this person needs to like no longer exist or this brand no longer needs to exist is possible, because that brand will just hire a better PR team and come back shining. So I think that cancel culture isn't a great thing, and the best thing to do is to have open conversations, is to pass on your feedback as a customer, is to DM brands, is to, message people, who work with the brands or with a company, and it, for corporate girls or, corporate people, talking to your HR, talking to your managers, asking the questions and not having that fear that, if they're hoping just, how would I say this? One would hope that they would listen to you, and same way one would hope that they're not going to cancel you in return for giving your feedback. And they can't. And that the great thing now for us is that we can't exactly be cancelled for being angry that we're not included. So we can't, back in the days, you just get blocked out, right? You just get blocked out or blacklisted, or you're no longer invited, or, you're too much trouble because you're, making a scene about these things. That's no longer a possibility. Like that's no longer a good way to handle things. Brands already know that. They have to take on feedback. They should be listening to you. And I think people, especially like people in my position, are in a great place where we can actually say something and people will listen. Especially brands have to listen because they want to work with us and they want to have access to our audiences. So for me, going to that cancelling part, if you try it several times and you're getting, very insensitive responses, uncultured responses, arrogance, fragility, stonewalling, whatever it is, maybe then, they do deserve to be cancelled. But not everyone is an asshole. A lot of people just don't have bad intentions, but somehow something bad has happened. So giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. But if there is an arsehole, I'd say yes, they should be cancelled. But what's your threshold for an arsehole? Because to me, they'd have to be doing a lot of dumb things for me to then be like, no, this brand should be cancelled. No one should be working with this brand. No one should be buying from this brand. But that I would have to go all the way up to the top. So
it's so great for you to say that. You're one that is trying to drive for change, but you're also one that is driving to understand that it's a process to make change and it's a process to understand both sides of it, which is great, because it's too much online, irrespective of where you sit in the spectrum of the world. We see things of, I want change, therefore fuck you all. You got to accept my way or get lost, or I'm going to scream off the top of the mountain if you don't make it instantly straight away and respect me as an individual with my small things. Yes, I respect that, but things take time, and things take communication, and things take education, and things take going through the processes. And then if you go through your 4 steps or 5 steps or whatever it does, and they're still standing on that, then fuck you for still being that arsehole, and then by all means. But it's so great to see that being person that's been impacted negatively by it, someone that's trying to make a positive change, you're still allowing breathing space for change to happen positively from both sides, and not just taking a line in the sand and going, screw you world, fuck you brand for going one word or one thing in one instance, which I feel in society we have today, sometimes that does slip and sometimes that does happen. Don't say it's right, but I'm just saying that
I think in the end, it's hard power does not have long-term results. Soft power does. It might take much longer, but usually the route you should always take is soft power, as much as you can for the longest amount of time. But you should also have the strength to take hard power when it's necessary. And I'm not fearful of using hard power. I'm also not fearful of the consequences of not being considered for that brand or considered by that agency. I don't have that fear at all. And I've shown that before by telling, PR companies that I think are completely helpless, like, remove me from your list. I never want to hear from you again. Showing that I don't think that you are good enough for me to work with because you are not inclusive enough. You're not willing to make the changes. You're not listening. It doesn't even matter if they don't even take on my feedback. Are you listening? Are you at least validating what my concerns are, how I'm feeling, and then, it doesn't matter if it takes you 1 year or 2 years to implement that. Are you at least listening, or are you acting so fragile that I don't even feel comfortable passing on the feedback? And that can go all the way up to management. And I think there's only 1 or 2 PR companies in all of New Zealand I wouldn't work with, and there are 80 to 100 at least PR company agencies, maybe way, triple that. I'm just talking about the big ones. So, in instances, yes, I think you do need to take a stand. And then the reason you take a stand and what that causes is fear. So if you can't use love and kindness and, gentle nudging to persuade someone to do better, for, it's not just me, but for a greater group of people, sometimes you do have to use fear and anger for them to really understand. But we like to avoid that because it doesn't make you, like you said, it's not good for you either to feel negative and hold all this negativity and take that approach. So that should always be a last option. But I think what people can really struggle with is when do people respect you? If you're always coming in nicely and being positive and doing it, will they respect? Certain people won't respect that at all. Sometimes the only way certain types of individuals will listen is with hard power. So sometimes you have no choice.
Yeah, that's so true. And, thank you so much for saying that and saying where you stand on that and your view.
I don't like it though. It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable like having to roll up my sleeves and be like, well, you listen here, It's not a comfortable experience for anyone, even if you are, like I say, a bit more of a aggressive or masculine or whatever you are. It's not. I don't enjoy it.
I don't think it's enjoyed from either side. And I think it's, again, it's a challenge that as society we're trying to evolve to a better place. But in some instances, we're trying to evolve too aggressively. So therefore, both sides is caught up because, if you came to me and said, hey, fuck you for saying this or doing that straight off the bat,
no,
I'm straight. And I know you wouldn't, but I'm saying if society said that to me, I'm going to likely turn around and go, fuck you back, right? And that's the problem because especially if I'm going to be gender biased, if a female says to me that, and I'm a arrogant big male, that's the way that I've been brought up to to react and respond. But it's funny enough in that grey and the softer space, like you said, is where some more stuff can happen and everything else.
I think the particular issue in this country is it's such a small country, so many small industries. You don't want to act out too much anyway, even in the advocacy space. There's a real fine line of when do you go over and take it too far? When is it worth it? There's going to be a lot of brands that look at you and think, oh, she's so great, so passionate. We're behind that. Some people are going to look at that and say, she's so volatile. We're too worried what might happen and they might not work with you, but they're not the people you want to be working with anyway. So I think there's a fine balance between both, but I always say try to take the soft road, come in from a place of, it was actually one of my clients that told me, come from a place of love when you pass on negative feedback, even if you don't know the other person, which is not easy for me, but, you have to try.
That's awesome. And I think that's a great way to, to end off today's show. Is there, Sabby, as we get into the end, is there anything you want to leave our audience with, any sort of last little tip or insights, irrespective from the business side to the flipping side or just from what we're talking about now?
Oh, I really think that, anything is kind of possible. For me, my parents both came here as refugees. I obviously did get an education and go to uni, but I didn't come from any crazy background to, now be living in a super nice house, always going to events, dressing up, having a really good life. It didn't come from much. So I think, if you really open your mindset to thinking, I can have these nice things, I'm going to make it work in my budget. I'm going to make a lifestyle of, working on my own terms instead of working for, say, some sort of capitalist machine. There is, infinite opportunities for you. And I think I'm just kind of an example of that, of someone who, lives lives on their own terms, has nice things, but, within a budget that I think anyone could really afford. So I hope someone can look at this and, really rethink how they spend their money or rethink how they're working and, doing their side hustles to really make it work for them and live in, the life that they really want to live.
That's amazing. Thanks so much for that, Sabby. And where can we find you, reach out?
So my Instagram and TikTok is the same, Sabby Jey XX, and that's the only 2 social platforms that I use. If you want to check me out on there.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much, Sabby, for coming on and sharing your message. And to everyone else, as always, thanks for coming over to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast. As I always say at the end of my shows, I don't care about the shares, the follows, the likes, or anything else. I care about you taking something from what we're talking about today to make a difference. We spoke about 2 different areas today about making a difference, of trying to find yourself to be able to build up a lifestyle around yourself or build a revenue around that lifestyle. Maybe yourself or someone else can take some tips from that. We also spoke about building up a community, building up a business and a brand, about being inclusive of what you're trying to do and how to challenge those things that are preventing you from being inclusive yourself or your business. But as always, if there's something you can take from yourself or someone else that you might know, just tell them to come over. Give them a bullshit reason to listen to the show and go, hey, it's a really funny comedy show. You should have a listen. And they might come in and learn something from it. But as always, thanks for coming over to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast and hope to see you again.